By default, marks are going to use the time of the queue that the move is happening in. So for example, channels 121 through 128 are going to use the time of Q107 because that's where they're marking. As you'll notice, in our example that happens to be a very short time. Maybe we want those lights to move a little bit slower so they're a little bit quieter. In order to override that queue time, I can give these channels discrete timing, and the marks will take the discrete timing instead of the queue timing. It's important to remember that all attributes of the mark are stored in the reference queue, so we need to put discrete timing on just the parameters we want to mark in the reference queue. So in Q110, let's go ahead and say group 7 minus intensity. Keep in mind, if I put discrete timing on my intensity, then that's going to affect the time that these channels fade in 110 when they come up. Time 5, enter. If you look at our channels, you'll notice we get the little red T that denotes discrete timing, but our M's for our non-intensity parameters have also changed to red. And that's because by affecting the discrete time, we have also affected the mark. Don't forget that red means that changes haven't been saved, so we're going to update. Now if we look at 107, you'll notice that we get the pluses in our focus, color, and beam category that denote that discrete timing is happening, and the duration for that queue is 6 seconds. So if we go to Q106, when I hit go on 107, those lights are going to take 1 second to fade out and then 5 seconds to mark. Once that mark's complete, it tracks. And because I didn't put discrete timing on my intensity, those channels fade up in a time of 1. There's another option that lets you determine the time that a mark takes, and that is a setup option. So I'm going to hit Displays, Setup. And in my System Queue Settings area, right where my auto mark enable or disable is located, you'll also notice that there's a mark time. If I change this mark time, then all marks will use this time instead of the queue time. Keep in mind that discrete times will always override mark times. Finally, let's talk about removing a mark. I'm going to go back out into live. And if I want a few channels to make live moves, I can remove those marks. So I'm going to say 121 and 122, mark, enter. That'll change the mark to nothing, but you'll notice that I still have red M flags, and the mark won't be removed until I update.